Hey, Sandy.
All right. How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. There you go.
Oh, Lord. That's the most stressful 5 minutes of my life.
See, this is why I didn't. This is why I didn't do it on my own because I wouldn't know
Right.
what the hell to do.
Oh, my goodness. All righty. So, yay, we did it, people. Like, who would have thought that we would be on a TikTok live, all these years later trying to figure this stuff out? But this is great. This is good. So, Lord, that went fast. We've got 8,000 people already on here. So, let's get started. Let's. You've had a big day. I just want to start off and say a couple of things, real quick before we let. This is your platform for you to do and say what you need to do. But my whole goal in helping you with this, Brad, are three things. One is to generate funds for that GoFundMe. So no, we're not set up tonight because we're newbies, but we're going to get set up, and hopefully any type of funds that we are able to create through this process will directly go to the GoFundMe. The other two things are to push. Who did that? Did you see that just now? Is this what happens? Oh my God! So the other two things about pushing the two petitions. I think one, getting the government involved and being able to get their support is going to be huge for us. And of course, my personal favorite is the petition about the Amy alerts. I think that is going to be something that's huge as well. But as your friend, as someone that knows you and knows, Amy and your family, I'm so proud of you. I know what you've endured all of these years. I'm seeing, y'all have done so much and people don't even know. They're just coming in because of Netflix. So Netflix did their job, right? They did their job. They have put this stagnant case, honestly, on a worldwide stage. The last I heard, it was number one in over 30 countries. That's amazing. So I love that you are getting this support and this love and this resurgence in this case. But of course, there's a lot of negativity, that comes with that. And that's the part that's hard for us, the people that know you, that know Amy, that know your parents, that grew up with you, that, hung out at the Creekwood pool. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know you guys, and we understand that people see things on TV and they make assumptions. So my goal is that people get to know you and that they understand you. They understand Amy better. I think that documentary did a fantastic job in a lot of ways. Even me, I learned things even, all of these years later. But, even with talking, you're like, yeah, but they didn't do this and they didn't do that. So I feel like when the hype of the documentary starts to die down, what we didn't have back in 1998 was social media. I am a firm believer that when it comes down to it, it's going to be because of social media. When we finally get the answers that you've been looking for. I love TikTok. I mean, I love all social media, that's for sure. But I love the way that the people on TikTok rally. And I think that they will carry this story to the end. So I just want to thank everybody that's on here tonight. We appreciate it. This is not a place to come and bash. We do have some moderators, people that we know, that we trust. I remember Cynthia Owen.
Oh yeah, hi Cynthia.
Yeah, so she's on here. I've got my daughter on here. We'll do our best to, get rid of, the hateful comments and all of that, and just be a real positive experience for you. But the stuff that goes up, I don't know if you're seeing what I see, but it's funny. Anyway, so you've had a big day. Let's just start there. Tell us what was going on today and yesterday, actually.
Man, it's hard to even remember at this point. The first 4 or 5 days, I spent 12 to 14 hours a day with my face in my phone trying to answer everybody's questions individually. And I think I started, before I ever went on X other than to just scroll or TikTok. I never posted much but I went from like 12 followers to now like, I don't know, 130,000 people. The response from the social media has been crazy amazing. Like you said, back in the day, we didn't have any of this stuff. And this is such a neat way to get thousands and thousands and thousands of extra people involved and informed. And, I can't tell you how meaningful it's been to me and my family, the outpouring of love and attention and support and interest, and seeing how much people care all over the world. I mean, I'm getting messages from people in all kinds of different countries, and it's it's just been a really crazy thing to see after years of pretty much stagnation, I'd say. Like you said, the Netflix documentary kind of single-handedly revitalized her name all around the world, and we've never had any exposure like this. Amy's case and Amy's story has never had this much attention, even though we've done countless, media events and news stories back in the day. This has been the biggest by a long shot. And yeah, there's, all the wonderful stuff you see on one side of the internet, and then I can't tell you how disgusting some of the stuff that I'm seeing is, and some of the comments about me personally and my parents personally, and it's just not helpful. Excuse me if I freak out, everybody. There's a wasp that just landed near my leg, so if I go screaming, sorry. Me and don't do too well together.
You're fine.
But yeah, it's awesome. And my intent for coming on here tonight was, I've answered a lot of repetitive questions over and over and over and over and over, and it's just too much for me. It's not something that's tenable for me to continue to do. I've kind of put it down over the last 24 to 36 hours and haven't been doing that. And I want people to understand it's not that I've lost interest or that I don't care about the messages and the questions you're sending. It's just not healthy for me, from a emotionally exhausting and anxiety provoking type of, the feelings that I've been having lately. But I'm doing my best, and that's why I wanted to come on here tonight. And again, you think you had trouble starting this event. I think I'm glad you did it, because I don't think I would have been able to handle it.
I mean, and right now I know I've got this screen up, and I wish it was just you and I'm literally sitting here trying to figure that out, guys. And I don't know. So maybe for the next one, I'll have that figured out. I'm just glad we got on here and we're starting to have a conversation. So yesterday, I know you did the Barstool podcast, so that's out for people to go and listen to now, right?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't answer your question.
That's okay. No, it's fine, honey.
Ah, shit, hold on. I just pissed off the wasp now. Oh my God. I tried to get him and I missed. But yeah, I did Barstool yesterday. There was a podcast that I did last week with a gal named Katie Beck here with Channel 6 called Untold, that was released on, I believe, Apple and Spotify and YouTube this morning. I had a long telephone interview with People Magazine. Don't know whether it's the People Digital or sorry, I'm a little anxious about this. And I did another interview an hour before this with a gal named Lacey. I apologize, I can't remember her last name right now, but she's with Criminally Confident. One of the first gals that contacted me for an interview. So I wanted to, honor my commitment to her. So I did that. I'm going to be sharing all the links to all the different things that I did. I did the Young Jerks podcast that's on my page on X now. So I apologize for those people that are, in TikTok that don't do X or don't have access to it or whatever, where you can't see those things. But I'll figure out as I get a little bit more used to how to do all this, how to make sure people can have access to those things.
Okay. I clearly am trying to figure this out, people, but I can't. So let's just move on. We'll get it worked out for the next time. And then the Untold podcast came out today as well, right?
Yeah, that's on Apple and Spotify with Katie Beck, CATIEBECK.
Okay. And then People Magazine was out today. That's always good.
I don't know if it came out today. I mean, I know they've done an article in the past week or so. And Penny wanted to say hi. But the lady I spoke with on the phone, it was a telephone interview. I don't know when that's coming out online or wherever they're posting it. Hold on, I gotta get these dogs out of here too, so they don't get stung. Come on, come on, come on.
All right, people, do I have the screen correct now while he's out there?
No, I see. When I'm looking at your screen, there's you on the left, a smaller one of me up here, and then a bunch of invite with plus signs. That's all I can tell.
All right, I'm gonna have to figure that out for next time so we can keep going. Your anniversary is tomorrow, so I do not want to like keep you forever. But there, I am being sent 100,000 questions to ask you, you know, by message and through comments. I wrote down some of them. Some of the ones that I see that you are getting asked a bunch. You want to hit those first so that we can kind of
Go.
yeah. So let's see. Why don't you start with telling us why your parents named you Brad Bradley? Oh my God.
So, yeah,
Is that so annoying?
well, welcome to every day of my life.
Right.
It's so I'm named after my dad, so I'm Ronald Jr. And you know, Brad's a nickname. It literally, my mom tells the story where when they brought me to her after she delivered me, all swaddled up, and handed me to her, she says she literally looked down and said, "He looks like a Brad." And I don't obviously I don't know whether she was thinking about what her last name was at the time, but yeah, that's the name that stuck. That's the name I've always gone by. It's what everybody calls me. You know, my dad is Ron, so you know, if I hear someone yell out Ron, I'm looking where my dad is. You know,
Right.
but that's not my formal name, but that's more of a nickname I was given.
Okay. All right. To the shoes. I feel like I've watched you answer the shoes question a million times.
So the shoes, you know, we don't know how many. She brought multiple pairs of shoes on the cruise. Don't know how many. We don't know which ones. Unfortunately, we don't have a catalog of all the shoes Amy owned prior to going on this trip. So, you know, obviously when she's on the balcony and I go to bed and she's out there going to sleep in the chair, she's going to take her shoes off because you don't sleep in your shoes generally. And, you know, the yellow polo shirt that she had on when we were sitting there talking, there's a bunch of pictures earlier in the night at the pool party that I can share that show her in the yellow polo shirt with the collar. The video that people see of her in the dance club dancing with yellow, she's got a tighter white t-shirt on.
Right.
That was kind of one of those body shirt t-shirts that kind of snaps in your crotch area and, you know, kind of a tight fitting thing that she had on underneath the yellow shirt. I think my parents, you know, handed her back her yellow shirt and her, you know, before we went to the club. I suppose she took the shirt off while we were dancing because there was a ton of people in there and it was hot. But when she came back to the room, she had it on. The next morning when we woke up, the shirt that she had fallen asleep on the chair in was laying across the chair inside the room. And the door, which I had previously closed when I came to bed, was open when my dad got up at 6 and she was missing. So yeah, we can't account for the shoe deal. I mean, we don't know how many she brought. We don't know which ones she brought. So we can't determine which ones are missing, if any.
Right. The cigarettes, the lighter, the door, the key.
Yeah, we have an account. We weren't able to account for any of them.
All three were missing.
Yeah.
And then the camera. The camera was in the safe.
Camera we have. The camera was in the room safe along with all the film that she had bought to take all the pictures she planned to take for the photography contest when she got home, and she was planning to decorate her coffee table you know, with a bunch of pictures like a collage under a piece of glass. So yeah, we have the camera. When we got home from that horrible ending, we ended up getting that film developed. On the docuseries, you can see, you know, a number of pictures that she is taking of me and mom and dad on Aruba. So yeah, we have the camera and the film and all that at home with us.
So the theory that she might have been going out to take photos is probably
Yeah, no, I don't know, and I don't have any evidence or know at all whether or not she might have had a disposable. I don't think she did. I think maybe in some very early interviews, if you look back at archived footage of old shows I did, there may have been some mention of, well, our initial thoughts was, well, maybe she went up to see the colorful buildings. Maybe she went up to take some pictures since she was in that contest. Maybe. But yeah, we have her camera.
We had a bunch of people asking about the passport. Was that accounted for?
I don't know. I'd have to ask my mom. I'm assuming we still have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that I saw you sometime this week saying maybe you didn't know. Was there a partition between the guy that was next door that could have been opened?
Yeah, there was a partition there. I didn't have any clue, nor did any of us, that those partitions could be moved. There's been a lot of back and forth online and people disagreeing with each other as to, some people say that those partitions can only.
Oop, I can't hear you.
I said, can you hear me now?
Yep, there you go.
So, sorry, Aaron was calling me.
Oh,
So some people say that the partitions can only be opened on request by the crew. Some people say, no, that's not true. They're pretty easy to open. Some people say that in order for your partition to be movable, the room that you're in, usually would have a door to share with the other room, like a suite. And so not all of them move. I don't know what the truth of it is. Our balconies had partitions, but we were unaware that they were able to be moved.
okay. The guy that was next door, people have lots of questions about him. And I think that goes into a bigger question because there's a lot of questions about him, about the cruise director, about all of this. Can you kind of explain to us the participation with the FBI? Like it always feels like they failed you in every single way. So what was happening then and what's happening now for the people that, that we did see in the documentary and even the people that we didn't see in the documentary? Like where is that?
Where's what specifically now?
Well, like the guy next door, where they,
The guy next door, his name's Wayne Breitag. He's obviously almost 30 years older now, but he was a much younger man back then. Bit of a strange guy, self-admitted loner. Apparently I didn't know this about him until he divulged it on the series that he, went on a bunch of cruises by himself, and that's the way he prefers it. We found out sometime later that he had been previously involved with smuggling exotic, like leopard skins or something like that. So, not strictly on the up and up kind of guy. Apparently, after Amy disappeared, there were reports from the people that we knew on the other side of us, who were dear friends of our family, that his TV was cranked up to full volume, and it seemed that he was talking to somebody. So, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation, and your mind just goes in circles, and maybe this and maybe that. We did some looking into him in the past, and I don't know. I guess the FBI has cleared him, but all I can say is a little bit of a different guy.
so what does it mean when you say they cleared him? Did they do a polygraph test? Did they, like, what does that mean to get cleared?
I think so. I'm not 100% sure they did that. I assume, and I think I've heard. I think maybe even in the docuseries he said that he did a polygraph. I don't know for sure, but I'll get into the FBI a little bit later here, but I don't know. They don't tell us anything. The FBI has never been very communicative with us about information, and they don't share what they've done or what they haven't done. We don't hear about results or things they've ruled out. We just don't. They don't tell us. We hadn't, before this show came out, we hadn't heard from the FBI in over almost a year, I think. I'll just go into, I don't know whether you want me to keep answering different people's questions or just go into more of a monologue.
Buddy, this is your platform. You do whatever you want.
Yeah, so I think, and I'll get to people's questions here, but I think first and foremost, the most important thing is I understand there's a zillion people online who suspect she fell off or jumped off, and that's it, end of story, case closed. We think there's no chance of either one of those things, and I can give a number of reasons why. But I think I'll go through what those reasons are briefly. And I think if hopefully we can begin to get people to understand that if you believe those two things, you have to disbelieve everything else, every other piece of evidence, every other eyewitness sighting, every other aspect of this. The fact that Yellow's now claiming he was in his room at 1 o'clock instead of 3:35. I mean, you don't have to lie about your time frame if you haven't done anything wrong. So
Right.
the two girls that saw Amy go up the glass elevator with Yellow, I just spoke with Lori, and I know they're catching hell online. People are giving them a bunch of crap and tearing them up and calling them liars and, whatever. But
Okay, hold on. But Lori is one of the two girls that spotted Amy at the top, right?
yeah,
Okay.
Crystal and Lori are the two girls' names. And, we had gotten off the ship. We got back on the ship a day and a half later, or the next day. We flew from Curacao back to St. Martin and got back on the ship. After we had gotten back on the ship, those two girls, early one morning, as my mom and I were trying to retrace Amy's potential steps, or what she may have done or where she may have gone, they ran up to us breathlessly. They were like they'd seen a ghost. They were very excited. They said they'd been looking for us for the past day or so. That they saw Amy go up the elevator with Yellow sometime between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Now, and they say she was wearing that white shirt with the shorts that she had on in the dance club video. Their stories never changed. They've remained affected by this ever since the day it happened. The FBI, you'll see on the docuseries, if you may remember this, or you can watch it again. The FBI agent basically says that there's no way, unfortunately, to corroborate the girl's timeline. However, we know, after speaking to the girl's mother, one of the girl's mother, I'm not sure which one, and that same FBI agent in the past 48 hours, that the mother, who says that she let those girls into her room shortly after 6 a.m., which is why there's no key card entry information, the FBI never questioned her to corroborate their time frame. Still haven't to this day. So yeah, I think there were some things that were fumbled. I think that, people always ask me whether or not the crew was interviewed. I'd have to say I doubt it. I don't know whether any of Yellow's bandmates were polygraphed because they don't share information. We do know that the crew were allowed to search their own cabins. We've never had a passenger contact us, and all the passengers that have contacted us over the years say that nobody came to their room to search anything. The Charlie drill that they did to muster everybody and account for everybody wasn't done until 2 days later. So I think the boat's early response and refusal to keep the gangway from going down and letting everybody off was a mistake. I think that their unwillingness to make it known to the rest of the passengers that somebody was missing. The day we were there, the only thing they did was request that Amy Bradley come to the purser's desk. I've been contacted by people that said they weren't aware of it until after they left the cruise. So there were people on that boat that didn't even know it happened. They made an announcement and put out flyers 48 hours after her disappearance, and after they had let everybody off that ship, and after they had left Curacao to move on to the next island. So yeah, we think that things were done poorly and improperly. The boat wasn't interested in helping us. I think they wanted us off of that boat, and I think they wanted to move on and wash their hands of it. Um, uh, so, go ahead. I think people, may have questions.
That's it. They're coming in like hot. 'Cause I think the biggest one that I've seen here on is, sorry, let's see what's coming.
I see something about the boyfriend now. All right, so so I volunteered on X shortly after this docuseries aired. I found it important to paint a fuller picture.
Right.
Her sexuality on the docuseries was discussed. It was discussed as strictly gay. I mean, Amy came out to us as bi in 1995. So this was old news. Water under the bridge, whatever. I mean, it was not there was no issue with it.
Right.
I mean, her girlfriends went on vacation with us. Her girlfriends stayed over at the house. We all had good relationships with all of them. There was not any crap going on. There was none of this, homophobic BS that people are talking about online. Absolutely no truth to it. So I took it upon myself to make it known to people, since it was excluded from the series, that Amy had actually been dating a guy named Tom for about, for I don't know how many months, but for several months leading up to the cruise.
Yeah.
So just if we're going to talk about someone's sexuality when they have no ability to speak on it for themselves, I thought it was important for people to understand who Amy really was. And she, I believe she wrote a note to Tom in the weeks or some time frame prior to leaving for the cruise to say, I think we need to kind of really enjoyed my time with you, and I've had an awesome time, and I love your family and this and that, and everything's great, but I kind of want to take things slow and that kind of thing.
Right.
Then you see the letter in the bottle to Molly. That was 1 month to the day, February 24th of 98, that she wrote that to Molly. So I don't refute the fact that she may have been planning to get back together with Molly. And that would have been great. I loved Molly. I hung out with Molly all the time. She in fact was at my parents' house for Easter in 2024 for a visit from out of state, and always thought she was lovely. And all that crap you see online is just no truth to it. There was no animosity or contentious relationship between any of us. There's yellow claims on the latest interview that he did that, Amy was telling him that she was gay and that my parents forced her to come on the cruise. Lie.
Right.
And there's no truth to that. We were both very excited to go on the cruise. We both planned what we were going to pack. We did all that stuff together. We flew down separately from my parents together. We had an awesome time. We were having the time of our lives. We get on Aruba. We get in the water after we get lost in, the desert in the middle of nowhere. And Amy jumps on my dad's back. I don't think you're going to jump on the back of someone who's forcing you against your will to go on a trip with them. So just a bunch of lies and misinformation. And it's frustrating. But, again, over the years, her sexuality hasn't been talked about. But I thought it was important to, tell the whole story.
And then it gets taken the wrong way. And to me,
it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
It is.
So
Yep.
it's irrelevant regardless. But, my only intent was to share things that weren't part of the docuseries. And I don't want to throw any shade to Netflix. I mean, we are eternally grateful to the job that they did, the attention that they've brought. How successful it's been. We think they did a phenomenal job. I mean, the thing would have had to been 10 seasons to tell it all, and obviously they couldn't do that.
Yeah. But I think the part about the message in the bottle and the wording and the verbiage was just chilling, right? And so that makes the documentary, but then they miss the other parts of it and not knowing it. And I think that's a lot of, you want people to know the whole version of Amy.
Yeah,
and again,
in the bottle thing, I think they wanted to kind of be like, that's some sort of cryptic message and stranded on an island and that kind of thing. Amy was very poetic. She enjoyed writing. She wrote a lot of poetry. I think it was just she knew she was going on a cruise, so there was a theme there, and she was just trying to be romantic, I think. So I don't think there's anything to that.
Right. Let's see. We've got a lot of people asking about those photos that came. I don't know if there's ever anything that you want to talk about specifically, Brad, go there, but I'm seeing a lot about questions regarding the IP address and where that might be as far as locating that, where they were watching the website and going on different holidays. And then, okay, you want to answer that one first?
So the IP address thing is really not something that I can share. The ongoing investigation and the information that we do have shouldn't, be known by everybody. We don't, I didn't even like the fact that any of that talk was included on the series.
Got it.
If it were to potentially clue somebody into, to what we were doing or what we were able to do. I can say that the technology that we have access to currently doesn't allow enough of a narrowing of the area. Certainly, there's no specific address information or anything like that. It's kind of more like a broader region of the island, but I can't really share the details of that, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. The pictures that were sent. Lots of questions about that, wanting to know if you really believe it's her. There were questions about why there weren't attempts to maybe secure, a meeting with her as if they were, trying to hire her. You want to speak on that?
So I'd like to address that. So hopefully people understand what we've done. So the pictures that we received of this quote unquote jazz, I want to say was in like either 2003 or 2005. You got to understand 27 years. There's so many dates and so many things and so many details that I'm not like locked into everything perfectly. So I apologize if I'm providing some incorrect dates, but we received those pictures from who knows who. We were never able to determine who it came from. For years and years and years, we've searched all these adult vacation websites and spots. We had investigators and undercover people trying to find this jazz, request appointments specifically with this jazz. We were never able to locate any place that knew of her. And again, now whether they knew of her or didn't, they told us, no such person is here. Some of the pictures, there's several, a couple you see on the series, there's a bunch of different ones. There's 2 or 3 of them that are really, really concerning to us. And the FBI agrees after all of their analysis, all the various methods that they use to compare and analyze these pictures, that they did feel like it was a high likelihood that it was her. But then, there are certain pictures that from different angles that you're like, not as much. I can still kind of see it. And then there's certain pictures where she's positioned in such a way where you wouldn't be able to see the tattoos that she has. There's other pictures where she's positioned that should show her tattoos, but don't, and I don't know whether they were photoshopped. I don't know whether there was makeup over the things. We don't know. They've always been suspicious. The one that they use for that specific comparison on the docuseries, even struck me even more watching it most recently, how damn close that is. So, we don't know. We tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to find her, and set up meetings and arrange for everything we could do, and we weren't able to find her.
People are asking about the tattoos. I will say that he posted that over on X. So if you, what's your handle on X, Brad?
It's Brad Rad. So BRADRAD 5 Bradley. Brad Rad 5 Bradley. I apparently there's a lot more Brad Bradleys in the world than you realize, because I couldn't get that name or
Right.
anything really even close to it. So that's what I ended up with.
Okay. So the tattoos, though, he has that posted over there, so you can take a look at that. Another thing I should mention is that there is a website, amybradleyismissing.com. So you can always go to that website as well to get information or get updated on, what has been happening all of
That
these years.
website has the greatest amount of detail. There's folders for each specific suspect and sighting and place and year. And I mean, so you can save me a lot of time and effort answering a lot of these questions that can be found there. So yeah, amybradleyismissing.com. Amy Bradley is missing at Gmail is the tip line that we're getting, thousands of emails from. A lot from well wishers. Some that are credible leads that we're in the process of tracking down and following up on. Some crazy stuff, obviously. But the telephone tip line is 804-789-4Amy. So that's 804-789-4269. And then, like you said, the GoFundMe link is out there. It's on my TikTok. It's on my X page. And in order to follow up on the leads that are coming in that we do need to rule out, we need a little bit of help, with financing those types of operations.
Okay, so the two things that are coming in right now are the most recent sighting is still the bathroom, correct?
Well, the most recent credible sighting is the bathroom. There's another one from a guy named Herman Goylo on Curacao, who claimed to be a retired police officer that was telling us that he knows who had Amy, and it was this powerful, influential, people on Curacao. We have sent investigators to speak to him. I believe those sightings were, I don't want to misspeak again, but as late as 2014. So I don't know. We found out later he was a clerk in the police station, not an actual police officer. So, we've had hundreds and hundreds of, I saw Amy at a Hardee's in Texas, and I think I saw Amy at a gas station in Arizona. There's been a ton of that stuff. But yeah, as far as the credible leads, I think the last one was in either 2007 or 2009. 2007 was the Mill Restaurant in Aruba.
And again, don't say anything that would be, putting anything at jeopardy. But people are asking if there are credible leads that are coming in now that you might be exploring since the documentary has aired.
Yeah. So we have, an investigative team that's working on those things. Obviously, with some of the ugliness that's out there, they're shielding us from a good deal of it. So we're not personally currently involved with checking and reading all of these things as of yet, unless they're put into separate folders that have been cleared, that wouldn't hurt us to look at. So yeah, I can't really, there's one that's people are talking about from a girl named Imani on TikTok, where in Barbados, she claims to have known a person that matches the description, but unfortunately died in a hammock sometime last year or something like this. I think I saw an email that I clicked on tonight from her, and it's a picture of a lady with her hair dyed purple that looks like she's probably in her mid to late 70s. So I don't think that's going to end up being anything. But, anything that is plausible enough to rule out, we have to rule it out. We can't ignore, a lot of these things. And a lot of people ask about psychics and this kind of thing. In the early years, we spent a lot of time doing that. But unfortunately, not only do they all say different things, I would assume if people were psychic, at least two of them would agree.
Right.
That's never been fruitful. And so we don't. Now, of course, I'm not discouraging any people out there that think they can have some information that helps us to please send an email and share it. But we're not actively working with any. We've kind of learned over the years better.
Yeah. So a couple of questions. She would be 51 now. Her birthday was in May of this year. And the website again that people are asking for is amybradleyismissing.com. And if you have tips or leads or information, it's amybradleyismissing@gmail.com.
That's correct.
Yep.
And the phone number again, 804-789-4AMY.
Okay. All right. So some questions that are coming in. One, I'm going to skip over to the jawbone. I know the answer to this, but you want to tell them?
Yeah, I think that, people, I've seen claims online where people seem to think there was no follow-up or tests done on that. There was, as far as I understand, and it was ruled out. There was another piece of a pelvis or something that was found on or near Aruba that was determined to be male. So, yeah, these things have been looked into and, tested and ruled out, both of them. So, yeah, I don't know where people are getting the information that they were never tested, but they were.
Right. And no, he has not been able to speak to Leah Remini. I see that one all the time as well. But of course, there's things coming in regards to the Scientology. So people saw that on there. Just knowing you, when I saw that go up, I put myself in your shoes, and you're sitting here for 27 years wondering, what happened. And so you've watched a documentary, and and I can imagine going, man, someone looked at me weird when I was on the elevator, and why haven't I ever thought about, what I'm saying? Like all of these things. So I could see that was like, this is something that's always bothered me. That's like never followed through, but so you want to speak on that and where you're at with that now?
Yeah. So again, after the series, we watched that. I've literally talked about this story with Scientology to every single news organization and media outlet and TV program we've done for 27 years. This is nothing I just remembered. I've talked about it since day one, and no one's ever reported it, ever. And I spent probably close to an hour discussing it during my interviews with the Netflix producers. Asked that they include it, and again, it was not. So, once the show came out and I could see that for the first time in at least 25 years, everybody, and I mean more than everybody, the entire world's paying attention, I decided to talk about it myself. There's some fear, I think. Maybe they're not this much, this much anymore, but you do a lot of research on them, and they're, known to be very powerful and very litigious, and kind of will come after you and do all this kind of scary stuff. But it's not something that, especially now with everybody paying attention and no answers being provided in regard to it, the FBI has largely dismissed it. Always, they say, yeah, we kind of looked at that. We don't think there's anything there. And that's not satisfying enough to me.
Okay. Because the other day I kind of felt like you were saying maybe you did feel better about it, but are you like?
Well, I talked to Leah Remini. We've reached out to her repeatedly over the years. Never been able to elicit a response from her for whatever reason. But I was able to speak with a number of people that used to be members of the Sea Org, ex-Sea Org people. A guy named Aaron Levin Smith, who runs a podcast called Growing Up in Scientology. I spoke with him on the phone for an hour. I wrote an email to Claire Headley, who was one of the highest of the high in that organization at that time on that boat during the same time frame. And she was above Mike Rinder and that whole thing, apparently. She has sent a really long email. I spoke with Tony Ortega, who I think I've since learned is not actually an ex-Scientology guy, but is an anti-Scientology guy. And my mom spoke at length with a lady named Yaleska Paris, who was on the ship during those years and actually escaped from the Sea Org. Each one of those people individually and separately kind of contacted me to reassure me that the chances of that happening were extremely, extremely, extremely low. And they explained that, yeah, the Sea Org is the highest portion of that Scientology church. I mean, it's the highest levels that you can get to. They've never been known for kidnapping people into it. Even if you're in Scientology, it's very difficult to get on that ship. It's an exhaustive kind of, interview and security and background and all this kind of stuff you have to do to get involved. So, of course, you don't know who to trust or what people's motives are or if what they're telling me is actually true. And I haven't put it to bed 100% in my mind, but it's definitely, speaking with each one of those 4 or 5 people has assuaged the frustration that I've had in regard to that portion of the story over the past 27 years. Unfortunately, in my effort to be complete, I think it unnecessarily or unfortunately distracted from the predominant theories involving yellow and these eyewitness sightings and those kind of things, because obviously if Amy's stuck on the free winds, she can't be stuck in a brothel and so forth. So it was just something that never had been satisfied in my family's mind as something that had been actually investigated or looked into properly. But I feel better about it. Yeah, I've moved on from it, and I'm not focusing on it. But if there's any ex-Scientology or ex-Sea Org people out there that have any information to share, we're all ears for sure. We're never going to stop listening.
Yeah. 2 other topics that keep coming in are wanting to know who bought the pictures, and that we don't know. So you can explain that.
Don't know. Mom and Amy went up to find the pictures, and they were gone. And the photographer, the guy at the the picture wall, was when they went up and asked for him, he was like, "Oh yeah, those are right over here." So he obviously knew where he had put them. I don't know whether someone snuck up and stole them. I don't know whether someone purchased them. I don't know whether the FBI ever questioned that photographer. We don't know. They're just gone.
But hers were the only ones that were missing. Is that?
Oh yeah.
Which is odd.
There were never any other reports that I've heard of that there were other pictures missing.
Yeah. All right. And the other one is they want to talk about Alfred Cotton.
Yeah, that's one that you can learn a lot about on the website. I got to be a little bit careful. Some of these people have lawyered up and all this kind of thing. I can't really go into that. What I can say is that the FBI sketches from the San Francisco sighting were suspected to be him. He was arrested for being involved in prostitution on, I believe, what's called Margarita Island near Venezuela, or in Venezuela. They then moved that to a different island. So he was, involved. I believe the Aruba sighting, the lady described, the large man and that kind of thing that kind of matches the same description. But I can't really, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail about that, that specific person.
A lot of people asking what your theory is on what happened. And I'm like, that's kind of a silly question, because if we knew what happened, we wouldn't be sitting here trying to still figure it out.
My theory, I can begin it, but I can't end it. My theory is that after I went to bed, Amy either left the room for some other reason than to purposely meet Yellow and ran into him, or the amount of time she spent with him the night before, they had arranged for something. Amy was really into music. She played the saxophone, which Yellow talks about. She loved to sing karaoke. We're in the disco with the DJ, the night before and all that stuff. I do not know why she went to meet Yellow, but I believe that she came in from the balcony, put the yellow shirt on the chair, left the room, was seen going up the elevator by Lori and Crystal. Yellow came down later by himself, passed right by them, and ignored them, whereas previously he'd been trying to holler at him and hook up with them.
Right.
So they found that to be very odd, and they knew who he was. They knew who Amy was. Amy and I both had spoken to Crystal and Lori before. Lori and Crystal had met Yellow. It wasn't like this kind of random eyewitness sighting. We all knew each other in the first few days of the cruise. If you understand what's in the back of the dance club is a crew elevator that goes down to crew quarters. So perhaps he handed Amy off to someone in the elevator, came back out, and you'll see him slip in one of the interviews he does. That one interview that he did on YouTube, where he says, when I got back to my room, he says "we" twice, and I don't know whether that's "we" him and Amy, or "we" him and my his roommate. I don't know.
Right.
But I think that they took her. From there, again, it's all speculation. I think that they were potentially involved in some sort of trafficking situation, got her off the boat by some means, whether it was in large band equipment containers or, people don't understand on the backside of the ship, when the boat docks on the side where you get off, on the other side of the boat, these huge doors open up, and there's boats and activity and trash being taken off and supplies being delivered and all kinds of stuff going on the backside. So we don't know. There's a lot of questions on how they got her off the boat. I don't know. The boat claims that there was no recordings, that all the cameras were simply monitoring. And I don't know whether that was intentional or true. They tell us there's no recordings. There certainly could have been. I think you'll all find this really interesting. Today I spoke with Chris Fenwick, who is the videographer in the series, who supplied us ultimately with the video of Amy dancing with Yellow in the club.
Okay.
In the docuseries, it's explained that he handed over the tapes, that the boat asked for his master tapes and he refused. He ended up giving the tapes to Mike McCord, who was the president of my dad's company, and Mike McCord gave them to the boat's security officials. Had Chris Fenwick not had copies as well, I fully expect those tapes would have never been seen by anybody. Chris had Chris was working with a company that also had kind of a company cruise. He was hired to take footage of their time on the cruise. I think it was called Vanstar, which is no longer even a company, I don't think. But anyway, so the boat's videographer, a separate guy from Chris Fenwick, they became friends because Chris employed the boat's videographer to help, they used some of his equipment and they, whatever. So they got to talking and they'd visit each other's edit suites and on the boat. And the guy's name, I believe, is Steve Smith. Not 100% on that last name, but I think it was. Chris shared with me, even today I was on the phone with him, that initially Steve told him that, hey man, that there's a person missing on the boat. And he's like, oh my God, obviously. Then, a little bit of time passed. Next time he sees Steve, he says they don't know who they was, whether it was crew or the boat or whoever, passengers talking about, well, they're talking about maybe she jumped off. And I can address why that's not a theory in a minute. The third time he talked to Steve, Steve came back and told Chris, now I think they suspect there was some foul play. So Steve proceeds to tell Chris that the boat, whether it was corporate or PR or or whoever it was, had him scrub any images of Amy from his tapes. So that's tampering with evidence and interfering with an investigation, criminal as far as I can tell. So in both of these, we have documented evidence of all of this. So not only did they ask for Chris Fenwick's master tapes, which fortunately they didn't get, they asked their own video editor to eliminate any image of Amy so that it wouldn't potentially show her fraternizing with any crew. So that whole thing. So just because I touched on the fact that Steve said that, people were talking about her jumping off. So that theory is a zero theory. That Amy was the life of the party. We were, again, very happy. She was not struggling with any type of sexuality issue. She didn't give a crap. She was who she was, and everybody knew it. And so people can have their opinions on that or whatever. But she had just graduated from college. She had just gotten a brand new apartment. She just got a brand new baby puppy English bulldog that she had wanted her whole life. She had a new job set up to start with my uncle at his computer company. She was writing postcards to friends and buying gifts for people. And so, yeah, it didn't happen. So if we can get people past the fell off, jumped off crap, then maybe that we can get them to pay more attention to the actual evidence and the fact that, the FBI didn't do their due diligence to corroborate a time frame of the very first eyewitness evidence that we ever had. So my hope is through all of my efforts, and yeah, I'm exhausted, and I see myself looking more old and more tired on every video that I do the last week. But our interest is obviously number one, find Amy. If we are ultimately unable to find Amy, get justice for Amy. Find out what happened to Amy. Find out who was responsible for what happened to Amy, and hold those people accountable. And then thirdly, raise awareness to people that you're not safe on these types of trips. There's a lot of bad people and a lot of bad stuff that goes on that you don't know about. You very much so have a false sense of security that is incorrect. And they, you're in international waters, so good luck if something happens. Their interest is to protect themselves and not you. Lastly, not only the change.org petition with the Amy alert, which is an awesome idea, should have been done a long time ago. But if we're trying to get this information, and people can talk about my political views and how they feel about that all they want, I really don't care. It has nothing to do with anything. My personal opinion is that President Trump gets it done. If it gets in front of him, with the efforts that are ongoing currently in his administration to combat human trafficking and those kinds of things, if there can be some positive change affected there that can prevent anyone else from having this happen to them, or any other family from losing a loved one to it, any of that, I think, is obviously, starting from number one, most important to us.
Right.
And then they go down from there. But that's our whole goal. I mean, I understand that people. Sorry, I was just distracted by an ugly comment. Sorry, I shouldn't.
I know. It's part of it, but
I think people should be directed to ICV.org. It's internationalcruisevictims.org. There's a lady named Jamie Barnett who was on the docuseries that is phenomenal. And she lost her daughter, and she's done a ton of work. If you're interested in helping her organization or learning more about it, I'd point you to International Cruise Victims or ICV.org. Go check that out. But yeah.
I think you were going to touch on it. Again, there's no chance that she jumped. There's literally none. But even if there was a scenario of, being, you see that one a lot of, maybe she was sick, because she wasn't feeling well, and,
Yeah, and I get that question a lot. So, Amy, we have her bar tab. There were 6 light beers on it from 6 p.m. on. Amy, like I said, had just graduated from Longwood. She was not a rookie in that regard.
Right.
Yes, obviously she could have been given some drinks. She could have been given drinks with stuff in it. We don't know that. But when I met her back on the balcony, she and I were having a conversation. I'm well. I was 21 years old. I'm perfectly able to determine how messed up somebody is. And yeah, but everybody been drinking on the boat, but it wasn't like we were, crazy hammered or anything silly.
Right.
Amy was 5'6". The rails at least 42 inches high, if not 48. I don't know the exact height of those rails on that boat at the time, but at 5'6", even so number one, she wouldn't go near the rail ever on the cruise. So she's not going to climb on a table to lean over the thing when she can simply just lean over the rail and puke. There's no puke anywhere. There's no puke on the glass. There's no puke on the floor. There's no puke on anybody else's rail or anything below us. So my opinion is that if she were to have felt sick, she would have come in the room and used the bathroom.
Right.
Now, we know she did come in the room, and maybe that's why she came in the room. The door was open. Her shirt was in there. But when I went to bed, the door was closed and she had that shirt on. Right. So, I think if she were to be sick, she would have come in and thrown up in the bathroom. She's not climbing on a table and climbing on the rail in order to do that. It's a ridiculous theory, and no chance of it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was looking at some of this. So just again, the website, people are asking for that again. It is amybradleyismissing.com. Tips, leads can be sent to amybradleyismissing@gmail.com. The phone number, once again, Brad, is 804
789
789
4269 or for Amy.
For Amy.
I'd like to answer one of the questions I saw scroll by when you were introducing or talking about what you just said. Someone asked why we got off the boat in Curacao after this happened. We got off the boat in Curacao because we were lied to. We were told by the boat's captain that a search of the entire ship had been performed. And they guaranteed us that they assured us that she was not on that boat. So in the state of mind we were in, we were a total mess. Couldn't stop crying, snot running out of your nose. Dad's ripped the curtains off the window because he's so pissed about what's happening. And so they said, we're doing a search of the water, the local authorities and the Coast Guard and the divers and the boats and the planes and all this stuff. We're actively searching the water for her body. So they suggested that we get off the boat in Curacao in case she were to be found. We'd want to be there. And believing the captain of that boat at the time, we couldn't necessarily disagree. We believed that they did a proper search. We later found that they didn't. They only did the Code Charlie drill about 48 hours later where they muster everybody up and all that kind of thing. So 48 hours went by before they actually did anything more than a search of the public areas and bathrooms. Again, we spoke about the crew searching their own quarters, which is just an absolutely ridiculous thing to consider. So we got off the boat in Curacao in case she were to be found. And that's when the whole Scientology guys came to our room and that whole thing. After it was confirmed that nothing was found in the water, we got on a commercial jet, flew to St. Martin. We got a tender back onto the boat where then, fortunately through the efforts of some of our family at home, we'd gotten the FBI involved, and they were either there or shortly thereafter arrived. The boats, the company had, not my dad's company, but the boat had their attorneys front and center. Their attorneys sat in on all of our FBI interviews, which I don't believe is necessarily a proper or legal thing to do. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, we got off on Curacao because we were lied to about the search that that they claimed to do. Later to find out that that more thorough search which still never involved passenger cabins or individual crew cabins that weren't searched by the crew themselves. So that was the reason why we got off there.
Okay. And I'm going to go back. I know we were talking about, but I've seen that a lot today online, but I've seen it just coming through too about why you would feel comfortable about leaving her. And I'm just going to, before you answer, I'm going to say, I saw you respond to somebody. And when I read it, I went, if that's not it right there. And about why you went on to bed, why you went back to the room and left her.
Yeah.
I'm like, one, if she was hammered, if she really was hammered, you would have not left her.
No, I mean, we're in there dancing. We're having a good time. We're together all day. She was my big badass sister.
That's what you said online. And when I read that, I went, that's so freaking true right there.
That's how I grew up. I mean, if I were to be ever in any kind of confrontation, I mean, Amy was going to kick their ass, not me.
That's right.
So unfortunately, I was not in a mindset of protecting. I have been forever thankful, regardless of anything else, that she came back to the balcony that night.
Oh my God, yes.
Because if I had left that dance club and she never returned, I could not have lived with that.
Right.
So yeah, I kick myself all the time. What a dumbass move that was to do and leave her with a bunch of strangers in a dance club. But you have to know Amy to kind of understand why that is. I regret it, but again, I'm thankful she did at least come back to the room and didn't disappear from the club. I wouldn't have been able to live through that.
But I do think that's a great question, because if people don't know you and don't know Amy, they could think that. But when I read, I'm like, that is the truth right there. Like, she was the badass sister. And again, if she was hammered, like people want to claim that she was, there's no chance you would have left her. So I think that was a fair question.
Yeah, again, on the balcony, we're having a conversation about what we're doing the next day. And she wasn't like, slurring all over the place or anything like that. And so, actually, I just don't, I don't know about all that. People are going to have their opinions no matter what I say.
I know. That's right.
It's impossible. Right. So, the rage bait that I fell into the trap a couple of times since over this past week, I can't do it. I can't. My blood pressure and my anxiety level won't allow me to tolerate it. So I just have to try and ignore it as best I can. Yeah.
I fell into the same trap. And I think the ones here, that know you and know your family and know Amy, it enrages us as well. So I fell into the trap myself. And then I thought, what am I doing? I'm just feeding into their, negativity and evil. So
not to respond and tell them what you really think, but it's a waste of time. That's their goal, is to bait you into responding. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction anymore.
Right. Yeah. Let's see. It's 10:15. I don't know how long you want to go. We got quite a bit of people on here, but someone did mention the Tic Tacs quite a few times. Was the Tic Tacs ever taken, or the Tic Tacs that were in the place there on the island?
Yeah, we took those. I think they were examined. Again, the FBI, you'd have to ask them whether they did their work to test those things for DNA and this kind of thing. But yeah, that was an interesting day. I mean, we pulled up on these kind of lean-to corrugated aluminum shacks that had like sheets on the floor and 2-liter water bottles, and there was these large kind of 6-inch diameter pipes that were sticking up out of the ground by about 10 or 12 inches, and we're just going crazy down there. We're screaming down the pipes for Amy and just imagining there's some room underneath the ground, just all kind of stuff. But yeah, I think they were looked into. Another question I see repeatedly is the 23andMe DNA ancestry.
Oh, yes.
My mom's done that. Dad and I are in the works of sending it in now. The FBI has always had all of our DNA, so you would assume that they would do, cross-check all those databases and all that kind of stuff. Nice cowboy hat. I wish my mustache looked like this.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. And the chief of the harbor police, John Mentor, who you see in the docuseries, at the time he told us that Tic Tacs were not actually sold on the island. So a lot of strange happenings. There's a billion different details that I could go through, but the most important thing is we need everybody's help to help us find Amy. That's the entire purpose of all of this. I mean, the vast majority of people already know about Amy's story. Yes, I'm sharing all these details and helping to satisfy people's curiosities, but what I think may be being lost a little bit in the online, atmosphere is we need a phone call. We need an email. We need somebody that knows something, someone that knew Yellow, someone that was in that crew to come forward. And I don't doubt that the boat had all their crew sign NDAs and they're scared to death to speak out because they'll get sued and all that stuff. But this is, bigger than that. You'll be, I'm sure people would have your back. And if you came forward and, helped us find our Amy, we've shared this gut feeling, my parents and I, that she's still out there. And I understand that it's unrealistic to some people, but it's not going to change how we feel, regardless of how anybody else does. So we're just asking for people to help us, help Amy, help find her, help find out what happened to her, help find out who was responsible for it, help us get this in front of President Trump so somebody can make something happen. We need the new FBI in charge. We need Yellow re-interrogated, re-polygraphed. We need the band members interrogated. We need other crew members interrogated. You can imagine the advances in technology with polygraphs and AI and all the things that are out there now and how much they differ from what was available in 1998. So we're looking for a renewed investigation and help and resources and somebody. I've said this from the very beginning. We all have. I think we all know it. And by we all, I mean the entire world. Somebody knows something, and it's time. My mom in the docuseries, makes the statement about somebody that was once quoted saying that nobody keeps a secret. Nobody can keep a secret forever. Well, it sure has felt like they have, and I hope they can't anymore. I feel like it's time to come forward and get Amy home and end this thing and. The whole world will celebrate, I think, if we're able to achieve that.
So tell us specifically, in regards to getting the FBI to move. Are we supposed to be contacting the FBI or no? Just signing that petition, or tell us specifically.
I mean, you could contact your local, politicians, your senators, tagging the FBI in social media posts ad nauseum. So maybe if they see 10 million of them, they'll say, oh, okay. Tagging Donald Trump, tagging Kash Patel, tagging Dan Bongino, all the people that, could potentially help us, but maybe haven't heard of this yet. I think they may have more important things on their plate to them and maybe to the health and safety of the world, but, certainly not to us. My parents still go to bed every night. They kiss each other and they hold each other and they say maybe tomorrow. And they wake up in the morning and they kiss each other and they hold each other and they say maybe today's the day. That's a tough way to live for any person for that long a period of time. And we all deserve better. Amy deserves better. Amy, she suffered so many injustices on so many different levels. She deserves better.
Well, I know your anniversary is tomorrow, and I know you're exhausted. So we'll wrap this up for tonight. Hopefully, we can do another one in the coming weeks and have more conversations, and you all be able to ask more questions. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that was on here tonight. It's wonderful again to see your support and your love and encouragement and trying to help us, find a resolution for this family and to find Amy and bring her home. Again, the website that you can go to is amybradleyismissing.com. Any tips or leads can be sent to amybradleyismissing@gmail.com. The GoFundMe page is out there. It's on my personal page. It's on Brad's page. So you can find that link for the GoFundMe. That money is being used to follow up on any leads that are coming in. So that is greatly appreciated. You do have the 2 petitions also on my page, on Brad's page. The one about the Amy alerts, but the other one that he's talking about that's going to be important is, getting the attention of our government and getting the FBI on board and stirring them, back into getting this case back on there. Netflix has done a great job of helping us get there, but we're going to have to take this to the next stage of getting the FBI and the government back on this. So anything, Brad, that you need to say that we didn't say here that we need to mention?
I mean, I could go on till tomorrow morning at least, but so we'll do this again. Thank everybody for caring and for paying attention and trying to help us. And can't say enough how much it means to us and to Amy. If she's out there watching this, Amy, we love you. We'll never stop looking for you and trying to find you and bring you home. So we're going to do everything we can. And, I appreciate the world kind of tuning in and paying attention and keeping her name and her story alive. And hopefully something positive will come from this.
Yes. One last thing that I did not say is that we are recording this. And so we are going to be uploading that to YouTube so that this can be played back. So hopefully a lot of these questions, that keep coming up, those answers will be there. And then as we do this moving forward, we'll record them as well, because we've got people contacting us from every country in this world, which is just amazing to see that happening. And they were concerned about when we were doing this tonight and not being able to watch it. So we will record this and put that on YouTube so y'all can share that information for us as well. That would be great.
One last thing. Thank you so much, Sandy. I saw a couple questions about how do I know you. I've known this sweet lady since high school. We have a large group of friends. Sandy's always been an absolute sweetheart and an angel to us, and she's been trying her butt off to help us, and it means a lot. So thank you, and talk to you guys later. I gotta go.